when you showing and proving yourself as being God, and you know and understand mathematics alphabet 12 Jews 120 lessons, and then you say to yourself, let me do the knowledge to a law 360, and you understand the science behind generations, then you know you have to give up animals. The only way you going to counteract 1555 to 2010, basically. There's a few of us that he ain't got no more. But if we go back a couple of generations, you banging in the head too. You ain't went enough generations of vegan, of 120, of mathematics 12 Jews being inside of you quoting it. You ain't did that enough times as a nation, people, and what have you. You know what I'm saying? For 360 to come into play. You feel me? Where you could control the electrons in your physical composition. Where you control the proton and the neutron. You know what I'm saying? Where you can control your heart rate, blood vessels, everything, son. You can control the whole physical composition. You really want to deal with a law 360. A law 360 deal with changing not only the mental state of the original man, but the whole physical composition. Because it was diluted, mixed, and tampered with by what? The devil. You gotta know and understand that, man. The physical composition has been mixed, diluted, and tampered with. It is not holy anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's why you can't think good. Your mind is clouded. The devil done clouded your mind with devilishment. And then you eat the wrong foods mentally and physically because you are eating the way he taught your ancestors to eat before you even thought of. And we carrying it on because if I had your mother and your father and you were the child, and after you born I let you suckle for 2 years, and then I ain't even gotta do that. I could take you and give you to another mother and let her suckle you. Don't matter. As long as them breasts got milk, that baby will take them. So you could do that too, but in the interim is only I need to train is that first generation. If I take all those children and reprogram them from the culture I guard to wherever I want them to be, then only got to do that one generation if I make them think that that's what their parents taught. And if I don't do that, I could just go enough generations down the line to the ones who was closest to the generation that knew the culture have passed away physically. Doesn't take that long. In one C note I could go through a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I'm killing them myself at 40 and raising the other ones. You feel me? Alright, I'm out. Peace.
And to Lord Abba, you're going to get your day on my show, all right? Just sit back and just chill, all right? You're going to get your day on my show. Ain't nobody running from you, all right? Right now, this is Dr. Bahu and Wakil. This is not Dr. Bahu and Lord Abba. You'll get your day in the Supreme Court, all right? Lord Reveal, you there?
Yes, peace.
Peace, God.
Peace. How's everyone tonight?
Oh, God, every day is peace.
Wonderful.
Magnificent.
Here's my question. As a writer, and in your writing, because we learned that the individuals who are readers, that they can learn from that which they read. My question that many have asked, how well are you known for teaching, being that you are a writer, and how many have you taught as a result?
You know, in writing, you know, you have to be very studious. You know, you have to pay attention to detail and be very careful about what you put in front of the people as far as an actual fact. You got to research it the same way the Father taught us that knowledge is a body of actual fact. Knowledge is a know, look, listen, observe, and respect. In order to do that, you have to have the characteristic of one being humble enough to have the patience and discipline to sit there and observe somebody, to listen to somebody, and to learn from somebody. So in turn, that's how you ingest and intake knowledge. And once that knowledge comes in your head, then the second aspect of mathematics is that you would manifest this knowledge. This knowledge will come out of your head, you know, in the way that it came in. You know, you can refine it and bring it back out. And and you want to manifest it back out as right and exact as you received it. So in that aspect, you got the first two principles of knowledge and wisdom. And as you go through the cycle of knowledge and wisdom, you will gain an understanding. And as far as me, and as far as who I taught, I had the ability, since we have knowledge, I guess around 27 years now, to be able to make an impact on people, And the reason for that, I think, is because I didn't necessarily try to deviate from anything to say, I'm the God so-and-so. This is my knowledge, my understanding. I would always say, yo, Black, this is where I got this information from. And you get the information from right here. This is my study. This is what I found. And I'd be interested to see how you see it. After you finish, give me your feedback. And I would thus learn from my students. And also, in the culture of Islam, you have your brother's back. We say that Islam is cement that seals all of the bricks together. So when you have your brother's back, or you nurture your brother, you have a love for your brother and your sister, you come through in every aspect of trying to be a righteous and civilized man. In return, you earn the love of that individual. So your bond becomes stronger. And then when the people see this, the 85% of the lost found see in the community, they say, man, whatever them brothers got, that's what I want. I noticed that you brothers been in the community, y'all speaking, et cetera, et cetera. Can you share that information with me? Then you pick up another student, repeat the process, you pick up more students. So I don't have a number on how many students that I've had over the years or impacted that I know it's in the hundreds. You know what I'm saying? It gotta be in that. It doesn't because of the opposite nature.
Peace, Almighty. How you?
Peace.
Everything is fine. Okay, God, I have a question for the God Wakil now. I've never came in contact as far as read any of your books, but I've heard, God's building about them. Now, I want to know your origin. You said you from ATL, where God Law Revealed is from. Okay, when you was mentioning the students that Allah taught, and for one thing, I want to know, what year did you obtain knowledge of yourself, God?
I got knowledge in 1983.
Oh, you got knowledge in 83?
Sure did.
That's peace, Almighty. Well, I got knowledge of 75 myself. So I had the opportunity to, observe and absorb a lot of knowledge from the elder gods. And I'm not talking about brothers in the mosque. I'm talking about gods on the street.
Right.
You know what I mean? From all barrels. You know what I mean? I noticed that you mentioned that Allah, he had a lot of students, but I didn't hear you mention a brother by the name of Rajab.
Right.
And he was one of Allah's prize students as well. And I named my son after him, his middle name. You know what I mean?
Sure
you had Bahu, you had Shasha, you had Abeka, and all these gods. See, I'm from New York, God. Answer one question, what year you got knowledge of self in? And I kind of feel you went around a question when Lord Revealed Infinite Law asked you, who did you teach?
Well, who did I teach specifically?
Yes.
I got a long list of students, God.
Okay.
A long list. Starting with True Islam.
Okay.
Really, in True Islam, God, a.k.a. Dr. Wesley Muhammad, was the first God to ever get his Ph.D. in Islamic studies. Peace. Peace.
Your brother, Universal Almighty Shakur Law. Peace, Bahu.
Yo, peace, God. How you doing, Almighty Shakur?
I'm good, Lord. My question is to Wakil. Are you a Muslim?
Yeah, sure indeed.
504. State your name and where you calling from.
Amgard from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Peace, Amgard. How you doing tonight?
Peace, God.
Hey. Let me ask you a question, God. When you was on the Lance Shabazz show 160, when you quoted the Muslim anthem, basically, Assalamu alaikum, saying that was our natural language. That was the language of us. And you saying that we are the 5% nation of gods and earth. Where did you get that we were the 5% nation of gods and earth? Who came up with that terminology? Because in 69, the Father changed it before he went back to the essence to the nation of gods and earth, not the 5% nation of gods and earth. So where did you get that terminology? And then when you was on the Lance Shabazz show, 160, you bear witness that Elijah Muhammad was the exalted Christ, and Farrakhan was the divine messenger. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, true indeed. True indeed. As far as your first question as to whether or not what is the language of the gods, as far as Assalamu Alaikum, I think that was your question, if I understand it correctly. And well, it was the second part to that. What was the second part, God? He said Assalamu Alaikum, or what else? I want to address it. What was the second part? Is he still there?
Okay. I'm here. What's your second part to the question?
Because you asked around 4 questions.
The second part of the question was, when you was on the Lance Shabazz show, 160, you bear witness that Master Farad was the only Allah. You bear witness that Elijah Muhammad was the only Christ. You bear witness that Farrakhan was the divine messenger to the nation of gods and earth, or to any nation. You didn't really bear witness to the nation of gods and earth. And where did you get the name, the 5% nation?
Okay, true indeed. That's what I was missing. Okay. Well, God, the terminology 5% nation, that was around ever since I came into the knowledge of myself in 83. And the brother Almighty Infinite that just got the phone in 1975, I'm sure he could have shared that with you as well as Lori Zell would know that. Any God that came up in Now Why from the 60s to the 70s to the 80s definitely heard of the 5% nation. And that was the terminology that we use. Now, the terminology nation of gods and earth as an exclusive term, that came later. You know, the first advent of that term was in 1987 through the World newspaper, when that was being advocated. I can go into that and how that came about, but I don't know if we have enough time to go into that. Pardon me?
When the father dropped that name, that wasn't advocated in 1987.
Okay, well, let me just say this, God. Let me just say this. The father was there with the elders, right? They was there with the firstborns. They was there with the firstborns of Medina, with the firstborn queens. If you got access to any of them, ask them where the term 5% nation come from, and whether or not this is a term that Wakil Allah concocted or invented, and whether or not was this term used after 1969. You can even go back to the rap history, God, and listen to Rakim, Brand Nubians, Poor Righteous Teachers, they had 5% nation. You know what I mean? This is all documented information that anybody can easily access and research. You know, so it's there, God. We was a 5% nation. There's no doubt about that. That's not a term that I came up with. Now, as far as me personally, like I said, my personal testimony, my personal bear witness, and how I got the knowledge as far as my tree is concerned, I bear witness that Allah came in the divine person of Master Farad Muhammad. Doing praises forever do.
Yo, peace. This is RQ Magnetic Allah from D Mecca. Peace, peace. Peace, guy. Yo, peace. Yo, RQ, I did the knowledge of what you were saying. The God asked you, was you a Muslim? And you said yes, right?
Right.
Then, as I listen to you more, I hear you refer to yourself like we, as far as with the Nation of Gods and Earth, but the Nation of Gods and Earth are not Muslims. So, you're really speaking on the Nation of Gods and Earth and writing our history from the outside looking in, right? Not as an actual member of the Nation of Gods and Earth.
Right. Let me clear that up, God. When I came into the knowledge of self, I never heard of the Nation of Gods and Earth. You know, when I came in, it was the 5% nation, or the 5% nation of Islam. We was not against the Muslims. We was not anti-Elijah Muhammad. We were not anti-Master Farad Muhammad. We were pro-120. We were pro-Elijah. We were pro-Farad. We were pro everything that was in those lessons.
I don't think that's the question. Like, when you came in, it was being called a 5% nation back in 83, right? When in that instance. We wasn't calling ourselves Muslims, though. The question was asked, are you a Muslim? Wakil, before you answer my question, hold on, because God asked you a question. We never call ourselves Muslims. In the history listen for a second, God. You said you came in, we was the 5%. Was we call ourselves Muslims?
Where you calling from? I'm Lord Jamel God, born Mecca. Born Mecca, Lord Jamel God, peace, Lord Jamel God. What's your question? Yeah, my question is, what's the difference between the Muslim and gods, Wakil?
Between the Muslim and the 5%?
Well, God, how they the same, or how they
yeah, God, let me just get into it, God. I got right now through the 5%, God. We deal with what we call 120 lessons. And 120 lessons, well, God, do you know what the lessons come from?
Pardon me, God?
The lessons, those are called Muslim lessons. And the Muslims teach that they the 5%, and the Muslims teach that the black man is God. So Muslims is 5%, and Muslims is God. Muslims is the original black people. God is the original black people.
All right, now question. Okay, the question is, do the Muslims incorporate the lessons of the gods and earths? Okay,
the lessons of the gods is no such thing.
No. This is a simple answer. Yes or no? Only thing they listen.
God. I don't even know what the lessons of the gods and earths is.
Wakil. Hold on. God, let's read mathematics, opposition 12 Jews.